and I am back with the beard, back with the bandana, but most importantly, back with another Monday night special of Monday Night Friendlies and your favorite VGC team, ATX VGC. Alongside me tonight are Rollercoaster, Chase, and Gems VGC. Tonight, we start out with Discord viewer battles of Gemma versus Amy, followed by Rollercoaster playing against Rob, and lastly, yours truly, Nibs, will go against Ross. Now, I'm going to pass things over to your host for the evening, Chase.
Hello, everybody. I'm Chase, also Tiki VGC. As Nib said earlier, I will not be playing tonight, but I will be the commentator for every single one of these matches, along with one of the other of the streamers here today. So hopefully we should be getting into our first match pretty quickly. We just have to set it up real quick. Our first match is Gems VGC versus Woke Flossie. And what do you think we're going to see here with regard to teams from either of these two players, Nibs?
Well, we have it at the bottom of the screen here, so.
Oh, I did. Yeah, that is true.
Sorry. It looks like Gemma is going to be using the Snorlax, Incineroar, Excadrill, Togekiss, Rotom Wash, and Dragapult, which is kind of. I'd like to note that that's a little bit different of a style that I'm used to seeing for Gemma. I'm not used to seeing her use Snorlax. I think this might be the first time I've personally seen her use that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Yes. So I think.
So
we didn't.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, we didn't say what Amy's team was, which is Incineroar. It's actually going to be male Indeedee, Galarian Slowbro, Togekiss, Ferrothorn, and Gastrodon.
Yeah, I think the Galarian Slowbro is a really cool idea. It looks like a slightly different form of Psy-Spam, potentially. Maybe with both of them having Trick Room, both the Indeedee and the Slowbro, and then both of them having Expanding Force, but I'm not particularly sure what exactly this team's goal is other than that. I would say Gemma's team is looking a lot like the team that Eduardo Cunha, Edu, used for a while, and also James Beck was using for a while. Both of them use similar teams in the Players' Cup with Arcanine over Incineroar. So I would tend to guess that this is a Yawn Curse Snorlax based on that archetype, but I do not know.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see which team and when they're going to take advantage of Trick Room. As you can see, both of these teams kind of have some Pokemon that are like kind of in the mid tier, where they could take advantage of not having Trick Room up at some times.
That is true. I think it's interesting to see how effective Psy-Spam is going to be with only one immunity and one resist on Gemma's team. It could be very scary with both the Slowbro and the Indeedee. As we see, Slowbro Togekiss is the lead from Amy, and Gemma sends out Snorlax and Incineroar.
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what Gemma's Incineroar has here, but I'm going to assume that it has Fake Out. Do you think we see a Fake Out going into either one of these Pokemon here, and then getting set up with some sort of type up from the Snorlax?
Yeah, it looks like that's what's going to be happening with a Yawn into one of the two slots, and assumably a Fake Out into the other, potentially maybe a Snarl or a Parting Shot instead. But you would assume a Fake Out and a Yawn is a pretty safe turn one play. Who do you think has the better positioning here, based on the leads?
Well, it looks like Amy is already kind of set into like her mid-game groove, where she probably doesn't really want to switch anything in to kind of gain balance, where she could do something to this Incineroar with the Slowbro.
We see the Fake Out come out into the Slowbro, and then Dazzling Gleam from the Togekiss. We see a crit on the Snorlax and no crit on the Incineroar. So maybe just a lucky crit, but it also could be Scope 1's Togekiss here. Okay, so now that we see the Yawn on the Togekiss, and again the Slowbro not really doing anything this turn, we kind of see a neutral turn one, not very much damage done. Now what do you think the board positioning is looking like?
I think that Gemma's sitting in pretty good position after getting that Yawn off. I think she's probably free to just kind of get a Curse off here, and then I mean, unless this Togekiss on Amy's side has a yawn of her own, then I would say that Gemma is she's got pretty good position here.
I would tend to agree. The yawn pressure seems really good in this situation, especially without some real like strong offense right away, giving the Snorlax a couple of free turns. So
we see the switch in from Gastrodon here, and the Snarl comes out, avoiding the Galarian Slowbro.
That could be an issue here, depending on if it's a Trick Room that goes up, allowing for the Slowbro to get stronger attacks off the next turn. But I'm not sure.
So we do see the curse go off from the Snorlax slot. Do you think Gemma do you think Gemma is free to just Dynamax the Snorlax this next turn?
Ooh, potentially yes. But that Surf is really interesting, raising the special attack of the Gastrodon as the partner, and doing damage to both Snorlax and Incineroar.
Is this? Okay. Do we want to just stay here though, Chase?
I think we can. Yeah, let's finish this turn off. So we see, I think a Yawn going into this Gastrodon slot, and potentially a Snarl to limit this Surf spam here a little bit. I mean, what do you think the best way to deal with this Gastrodon is with the Surf spam from the Slowbro?
I think ideally Gemma would max this Snorlax and then try and maybe get some max Quakes off into the Gastrodon slot and just continue to spam Snarl as much as she possibly can.
That seems like a pretty safe way to go about it. As we can switch over to the other view so we get the more accurate timing for everything. Sorry about that. But we see the Surf going into both of Gems' Pokemon and giving the Gastrodon the special attack boost, not picking up the KO on the Incineroar. And we see the Yawn going off into the Gastrodon again, allowing the Snorlax to again get some more free space for this next turn, as Amy probably has to switch out.
Do you think Amy's team is from James Beck?
I'm not particularly sure. Has he been running a Slowbro team recently?
Yeah, and he's been spamming Surf into the Gastrodon and then maxing it, and it just taking a lot of advantage from the Gastrodon.
Okay, I mean that seems like a really cool idea, especially with like a more offensive Gastrodon. Because once it gets a couple of special defense boosts and special attack boosts, it's pretty hard to take down fast enough without it taking you down first.
So we do see that Gastrodon go back to Amy, and the Togekiss comes out.
And
Snarl comes back out.
Very passive first 4 or 5 turns in this game. Not very much damage overall. So, who do you think takes the first KO?
I think we're about to see it.
And there it is. And we see a critical hit on the Incineroar, although I would assume that does not matter. And so then the Yawn.
Another Yawn coming from the Snorlax as Gemma is taking her time, making the Snorlax a big Snorlax.
Yeah. We'll see Gemma choose between the Togekiss and the Dragapult in the back. Assumably, whichever one comes in would want to Dynamax this turn, and then start to apply pressure now with the Yawn already on the opposing Togekiss. But we shall see.
It's kind of cool to see that Gemma has the Dragapult in the back, and as I've mentioned now a couple of times, that she hasn't Dynamaxed her Snorlax yet. She could bring in the Dragapult and get some serious boosts off. She could drop the defenses. She could get the Snorlax to be faster than her opponent's entire team.
Mm-hmm. I think it's an interesting position to be in, because with sending the Togekiss in, there is not that much offensive pressure on the field now if the Snorlax isn't attacking. But also, once the Dragapult comes in at this point, it seems as though I can probably pick up 2 or 3 pretty easy KOs with everything chipped a little bit and having to switch out with Yawn.
Yeah, I think the passive play here by Gemma is going pretty well so far.
Yeah, I think she's running the risk of playing a little bit too passive in the face of the Slowbro, especially because it can hit the Togekiss super effectively, but so far it is working at this point.
As you see another Surf come from that Slowbro slot, just doing chip damage to both of Gemma's Pokemon here, as we see another Yawn come from the Snorlax.
Yeah, I mean, this Snorlax has taken, what, 25-30% of its HP and forced Flossie to switch out probably 6 or 7 times at this point. So it's really providing like a lot of pressure.
It'd be kind of funny to see the Snorlax run out of Yawn PP. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
How much PP does it have?
I think it gets 10, doesn't it, total?
Okay, so yeah, that would be pretty impressive to see. Although I think we might hit timer before we get to that point. So we actually do not see the Gastrodon switch out at this point. Just throwing off a Muddy Water. Again, probably not going to be doing very much to this Snorlax.
It does have the +1 boost from the Storm Drain last turn, though.
Yeah, and the Life Orb. And, I mean, the Snorlax is now sitting at pretty much exactly half health at this point.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead on a hunch and say that this is James Beck's team with the Ferrothorn there. Which, if you guys saw my text in the group text last night with no context added to it, I do believe that this Ferrothorn probably does have Swords Dance.
Oh, interesting. Not a very common thing to see. It's seen mostly in singles, early gens. People would run offensive Akaberry Ferrothorn to deal with opposing Heatrans and Magnezones. It could run Swords Dance Bulldoze, but even then that wasn't particularly seen.
Before last night, I actually did not know that Ferrothorn even ran or had Swords Dance.
Yeah, it's not something you would really see whatsoever unless you're like specifically going out of your way to find the most random move you can put on a Pokemon. So
the reason I like it is because oftentimes you'll find a Ferrothorn where it kind of doesn't really have anything to, like, it doesn't have any moves to click in that turn. Like, a lot of times you'll see it click Leech Seed and it won't have anybody else to Leech Seed, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it kind of gets stuck in a position where it can't do anything except for try to stall out the opponent. And sometimes it just doesn't get to stall it out fast enough. So the Swords Dance is a completely different approach to how to use it.
So we do see another Yawn coming from Gemma's Snorlax going into the Swords Dancing Ferrothorn.
There we see it. The Swords Dance Ferrothorn. Something I never thought I would say on stream. So, well, this is interesting because there's one Pokemon asleep, one Pokemon yawned, and neither players have Dynamaxed, as we see only 3 Yawn PP left. So it is a realistic threat of losing all Yawn PP.
I think what Gemma should do is just yawn into the Pokemon that are already sleeping, and then finally just yawn into her own Pokemon just to get rid of all
everything to sleep.
Yeah.
Put everything to sleep at the same time. Yeah, no thanks. Believe we're on turn 10 right now. We've seen now 2 total KOs with the Gastrodon going down to a critical hit from the Togekiss. 2 total KOs and 0 players have Dynamaxed at this point.
What do you think Amy could possibly do here to turn things around?
I think she's going to have to do a little bit more than that with the Ferrothorn, but I think she just has to stall out the Yawns and then Dynamax from that point on, which may be difficult to do. It may be possible. There are only, I believe, 2 left at this point. So
I believe you're right.
What do you think the best option is for both of these players?
I think Gemma is in great position. I think she's perfectly fine with these 2 staying in until something faints, and I mean, she can't safely bring in the Dragapult, which is basically what I mean by she should just stay right where she is. Maybe get another Yawn out into this Togekiss. I think Gemma is in great position here. I think if this Togekiss, I'm not sure what Amy's Togekiss has, but maybe she needs to go for a Dynamax on that end and try to KO this Snorlax. That might be her best option.
And we are seeing a Dynamax in a Beast Ball, so I'm not sure which of the 2 Pokemon that would be. Let's see.
Well, this Ferrothorn has to take one more turn of sleep, right?
Yeah, it does. So we are seeing the Togekiss Dynamax, which I assume from the critical hit earlier is Scope Lens or Razor Claw at this point. So the Dynamax makes sense.
What are the odds that it's Razor Claw?
I would hope it is, but I would assume Scope Lens. Because Razor Claw just looks cooler, as we see the Max Starfall. So it'd be interesting to see if we see Gemma predict... Oh, and no, I assume that is the critical hit there to get the KO on the Snorlax. So after seeing one KO in the first 10 to 12 turns, we've seen 2 KOs in the last 2 turns. So speeding up maybe just a little bit.
So I don't necessarily think Amy is 100% out of this. I think with that KO into the Snorlax, it definitely puts her in much better position than she had before that turn. With Gemma's 4th Pokemon being Dragapult, she could Amy is free to kind of just go for another Max Starfall into that, but what she has to watch out for is a Max Guard coming from the Dragapult.
A Max Guard would be an issue, or even a Follow Me could be an issue, and you might want to get speed control trying to get the Airstreams off into the Togekiss. I'm not particularly sure at this point what the best option is.
I think in order for Gemma to kind of clinch the W, she's going to have to get rid of the Togekiss. Because I don't think the Ferrothorn can really do a whole lot to Dragapult.
No, unless it's a knockoff Ferrothorn, which I do not know if it is.
I'm not really sure either. I just remember seeing the Swords Dance and being extremely confused.
That's completely fair. So yeah, we see the Dragapult Dynamax here. And the Ferrothorn stays asleep, but assumingly going for a Protect at that point. Gemma's Togekiss goes for the Follow Me. As we see Dragapult go for a Phantasm, I assume? Yes, Phantasm into the Ferrothorn slot. Getting the KO.
Do you like the target into the Ferrothorn better than if she were to target down the Togekiss with a Max Phantasm?
I think an interesting situation here is targeting down the Ferrothorn. Oh, that did a lot of damage. Targeting down the Ferrothorn gets you the defense drop onto the opposing Togekiss, and if you can just get a second defense drop here, by KOing the Slowbro, potentially, then maybe your third Max Phantasm will KO the non-Dynamax Togekiss. So, like something like a Follow Me Phantasm into Slowbro seems very safe. Although I'm not exactly sure if this Togekiss can survive a crit Dazzling, or the Dragapult can survive a crit Dazzling Gleam from the opposing Togekiss once it's not Dynamaxed. So we'll just have to see if the crit happens or not on the next turn.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Gemma almost needs to go for the Follow Me Phantasm.
Yeah.
But does a +2, do you think a +2 speed Togekiss here is going to outspeed the Dragapult?
A +2 speed Togekiss should most definitely outspeed the Dragapult. It only requires, I believe, like 52 investment in speed to get that. But the thing is whether or not it KOs the opposing Dragapult from full.
So we do see the Airstream going into the Togekiss slot after the Follow Me.
The other thing is whether or not this Togekiss has Protect. Because if this opposing Togekiss has Protect, it can just Protect for the last turn of Dynamax for the Dragapult and then pick up the clean KO with Dazzling Gleam.
So if you think that the Togekiss is going to Protect here, then perhaps Gemma should just go for an Airstream into the Togekiss slot?
Yeah, and it looks like what she's going for, as we do see the Togekiss Protect, and she calls it correctly. So that call there, I mean, it's probably the safest play overall because you should survive a Dazzling Gleam. Yeah. And then I believe Phantom Force from here should KO. So yeah, I mean
that's a -2. It should definitely. I would think that it would at least.
Yeah, I mean even Fly probably KOs at this point, but we should see the Phantom Force come out this turn, and yeah, Gems made the plays she needed to win this game.
That was a really interesting game one.
Yeah.
As honestly, it looked like Gemma had the she had the momentum for probably 2/3 of that battle, but it ended up being an extremely close battle, and it almost looked like Amy was going to pull things back and take this game one.
Yeah, no, and yeah, we do see the Togekiss get the KO, or the Dragapult get the KO.
That was a crit.
Critical hit. I do not believe that mattered.
It's really, I think it is really close. It depends on investments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty like a regular Max Phantasm to bulky Togekiss is doing 60%, so you would assume that a Phantom Force is doing like 40%, and so a -2 Phantom Force should be doing 80% to even the bulkiest Togekiss. So it should KO just based off that mental math, but again, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so personally, some adjustments I think that Amy could potentially be making here would be to maybe get a max Starfall off earlier in the game to prevent that Snorlax from clicking Yawn a million times.
Yeah,
Uh,
I
that,
I would agree on that.
that's probably the biggest thing that I would say.
Hmm.
Is there anything different than that you would?
No, I think I agree with you on the idea of getting the early Max Starfall off. The problem is if you get it off with the Togekiss can still be on because it's flying. So maybe that's not the safest way to go about it. Maybe if potentially the Indeedee just can overwhelm it with like expanding force. Uh,
It could potentially have Safeguard as well. On does Male Indeedee get Safeguard?
I believe it does. I believe the only difference is Trick Room versus or maybe Trick Room and After You are both on the male one, and Follow Me is on the female one. I'm not 100% sure on that though. Or at least on the After Me or After You part. The other part, I'm 100% sure, but I don't know if both get After You. I do know both get Safeguard as far as I know.
Yeah, so maybe instead of using that max Starfall early on, perhaps Amy could just go for the Safeguard if she has it from the Indeedee.
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful if there's just a way to stop the Snorlax from kind of slowing everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Gemma's case, I'm not exactly sure what adjustment she needs to make. Maybe like play the Snorlax a little bit more aggressively, not yawn every single turn, but get a couple more curses and double edges or even steel rollers off. So it's very interesting to see how she ends up playing the matchup. If Wokwasi decides to play it a completely different way based on the leads. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. Well, let's see.
So once again, we see that amazing crown on Amy's head there.
I do like the crown.
It's pretty cool. I don't know if I'm good enough to flex like that and wear a crown in game, but I do admire it.
So we see an exact same lead, although the Togekiss and the Slowbro are in opposite positions as they were last game. But we do see the same two Pokemon on each side of the field at the start of the game.
So I think Amy, what I would like to see from Amy here would possibly be a shell side armor into the That's it's water, isn't it?
The shell sidearm?
Yeah.
It's poison type.
It's poison. So I think I would like to see that go into the Incineroar slot here, even though it's probably going to get faked out anyway, and then possibly just max that Togekiss and Starfall into the Incineroar.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to see a Steel Roller with terrain not up. A very interesting decision here. As the Togekiss does not Dynamax. Potentially that's what Gems was thinking of trying to predict. As we see the Steel Roller fail without terrain being up. And again, pretty neutral turn one. So, what do you think of Gems' read to Steel Roller predicting the Dynamax on the Togekiss?
I think that was that was too big of a read there.
Yeah.
Very early in the game to just kind of assume that that Amy would go ahead and pull off exactly what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too hard of a read.
Yeah, I think if you're going to read the Dynamax, probably yawning the Togekiss slot is a little bit safer, as it's still going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then potentially Steel Rollering it the next turn. But I don't know. It's a tough position to deal with a Dynamax Togekiss at this point in the game. So we see another Air Slash coming out from the Togekiss into the Incineroar, doing almost
so
half with a
damage.
critical hit. Yeah, that is very strong. And then the Snarl coming out from Incineroar.
It's a big Snarl with two Pokemon on the other side of the field that are both special attackers, it seems.
Mm-hmm. As we do see the Yawn coming into the Togekiss. So I assume the Togekiss will switch out this turn after that. Ooh, expanding force. Not doing all that much with the Snarl pressure. And yeah, there it is, back pretty much healed up from that expanding force after the leftovers. Well, we see Flossie's adjustment this turn, or this game, was to target Snorlax down a little bit more. Just because, as we saw, how big of a threat it was when it just gets to yawn for free. So I think that was the adjustment, although the Slowbro not doing enough damage with Snarl pressure is a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I think perhaps Amy should have targeted that Air Slash into the Snorlax slot, so that way it can't get any more yawns off.
Mm-hmm.
Although it is crit Togekiss instead of Serene Grace.
Yeah. So we do see the Gastrodon switch into a Snarl. Yeah, again, not going to be getting very much damage off.
Probably a Surf coming from the Slowbro.
I would tend to agree, but this Surf is probably going to do like 25 damage to the Incineroar at this point because of both of the Snarls.
We see a great read there from Gemma. Assuming that Togekiss is going to switch out, she just goes ahead and yawns back into that slot.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I guess it seems that Gemma's in a pretty dominating position at this point, just because of the, no way to deal with the yawn pressure from Flossie's side. And I'm not really sure what she can do at this point without just, letting things go to sleep, trying to take out the Slowbro. Or take out the Snorlax, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it looks like this Incineroar is in no position to switch out anytime soon, as Gemma is having fun clicking Snarl. And it looks like Amy's team is very special attack oriented, so this Incineroar is really just free to do that all game long.
Yeah, I mean, it can just Snarl as the Snorlax curses and yawns, and there's not really anything that Flossie seems to be able to do about it at this point. I guess getting the, there you go, the accuracy drops from the Muddy Water could help a lot. But even at this point, you're taking a sleep on the Gastrodon, and then potentially a sleep on the Slowbro as well at this point. No, we see the sleep going into the Gastrodon again, but you're taking the Gastrodon sleep this turn, and a bunch of Snarls on the Slowbro, so you're not really doing enough damage, and in return you're getting chipped pretty heavily. So, I mean, what do you think at this point that Flossie can do to bring this back in her direction?
I think she needs to find a way to get that Snorlax to stop yawning and the Incineroar to stop spamming Snarl. I think she needs minimal sleep turns here from the Gastrodon, but I also think she should potentially just keep surfing with the Slowbro, getting that Gastrodon's special attack boosted every turn.
Well, we see the miss on the Gastrodon on the Snarl because of the special attack, or the accuracy drop from the Muddy Water, which is very helpful in this position. And we see Gastrodon take its guaranteed turn of sleep. And another yawn. So, I mean, what can you even do at this point to, stop the yawns? Because if you just keep switching, then you just keep getting your attack dropped.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not much you can do about it. So
yeah, I don't think we need to see the Gastrodon come out anymore. I think that she just kind of needs to accept the fact that the yawn is probably coming, and she needs to find a way to handle the Snorlax better.
Yeah, I would tend to agree here. And luckily enough for Flossie is that the Snorlax hasn't gotten a single curse off yet, so it is still at neutral attack, I believe. So that threat is not as big at this point, so you just have, and as we see, Gemma click the curse button for the first time. So I don't know, at this point, dealing with the Snorlax is the best way to do it, because it's very passive right now. Gastrodon avoids another one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not to be biased, but I will not root for a yawn Snorlax at this point, even though I was the player known for bringing yawn on multiple Pokemon to the Texas events that we have been having. But
I would assume that my opinion is very much similar to Amy's in this situation, where I'm tired of seeing the yawn plus the Snarl turn in, turn out.
I'm honestly very impressed that 9 yawns were clicked in the first game.
That is very impressive. As we see another Surf go off into the Gastrodon,
so
and the entire field, really.
as much as we joke about the way Gemma is playing right now, she has like a very good ability to just stay on game plan and not get impatient with the yawns, whereas another player would decide at some point like, okay, I'm going to stop yawning and I'm going to start doing something else, and that's when the opponent gets that one turn right when they don't yawn, and then makes a very big play to get them back in the game. But the way Gemma's playing at this point is so suffocating that Flossie hasn't been able to do anything other than dodging 3 snarls in a row with his Gastrodon.
That's impressive.
So, yeah, it's a very agile Gastrodon.
You ever seen a slug move so slick?
I have not, but it got 1 KO and brought the Snorlax and dropped the Snorlax's accuracy. We might see a Misty Yawn at some point in the future. So
yeah, so I think this is the situation where Amy could potentially just go ahead and bring that Togekiss is still alive, isn't it? So many turns have passed.
Yeah, I believe so.
So she can just bring that Togekiss in and do what we were talking about and get that max Starfall off into the Snorlax, potentially getting rid of that.
Another interesting option is just going for the quick Dazzling Gleam with the Togekiss and maxing the Gastrodon.
That's true.
Because it is at, I believe, +1 special attack at this point, because it got hit with the first Snarl and then got 2 Surfs off into it. It could be +2 for... yeah, and in the chat, Bob Billy MC is saying that Snorlax and Incineroar walls the whole team because of being special. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much describing it. And then, yeah, max oozing into the Incineroar with the Slowbro is interesting. The problem is you're just not going to do enough damage, and it's just going to be, the boosts are going to be negated by Snarl is the problem. So if there was a Trick Room mode maybe to do that as well, but I'm not even sure if that is possible.
So we see a Follow Me coming out from Gemma's Togekiss here.
We see
Muddy
the Muddy
Water
Water
coming from Gastrodon.
I'm thinking this does like 70% to Togekiss. What
It
does
should.
do?
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Critical
That was
hit.
a crit.
And then the Gyro Ball as well onto Togekiss. So the Togekiss is gone.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah, and Snorlax is pretty much gone too, as it gets off its parting yawn.
Oh my goodness. So what do you think about Amy double targeting that Togekiss instead of the Snorlax there?
I mean, potentially she could have targeted the Snorlax, but the Follow Me did happen, and it was very obvious that it could happen. So risking a Power Whip into a Follow Me was probably not worth it at this point.
Yeah.
But we finally see the Snorlax almost go down with its 256 HP.
And it does have leftovers, so if Gemma can possibly keep this thing around somehow.
Yeah. Do you know what the Ferrothorn's other coverage moves are outside of Gyro Ball?
I don't actually.
Because if Gyro Ball is its main attacking move, that will not even do anything to the Snorlax at this point. It might do 3 damage total with a Curse Off.
Well, I would expect another Muddy Water coming from the Gastrodon, and then probably a Gyro Ball going into the Dragapult.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Maybe even a Dynamax from the Ferrothorn at this point. An Overgrowth into the Snorlax to get that KO, and then start stacking Steel Spikes against this Dragapult, but I'm not sure. And then Billy Bobby MC in the Bob Billy MC in the chat. Yeah, there's just no way out in that position. That's the Snorlax and Incineroar is just so oppressive. For any lead on this team, just because nothing can really damage the Snorlax fast. And we do see the Ferrothorn Dynamics. But yeah, nothing can damage the Snorlax fast enough.
So it seems like it's just your typical ATX VGC Monday night friendly here with another Max Ferrothorn making an appearance.
Yeah, we'll see the Max Ferrothorn dealing with the Max Dragapult. And let's see what the Ferrothorn goes for Steel Spike. I assume into the Snorlax spot. Yeah. Well, this looks a bit better for Flossie this time, because it's going to be the Ferrothorn and the Togekiss against just the Dragapult at this point.
Yeah, I think Amy's in good position here.
Yeah. I wonder if this Togekiss gets KO'd to a single Max Phantasm. I would assume it does not.
It'd be interesting to see because last time we had that potential roll with the Phantom Force getting the knockout from, what was it, like 60%? Was that what it was?
Yeah, I do not think that's a roll because as we'll see here, this Max Phantasm should be doing about 60% to the Togekiss. But let's see. Into the Togekiss. As we see, that's about 70-ish%. Yeah. So maybe it was a roll. This is not a very bulky Togekiss, not enough to survive like a Helping Hand Phantasm or anything. As we see the Dazzling Gleam come out. And that looks like a critical hit. Oh, I guess not.
Wow. So we see a Steel Spike coming from the Ferrothorn into the Dragapult, and it brings it to 4 HP. What a greatly trained Pokemon here.
As we'll see the Dragapult get KO'd by its own life orb at this point. Gemma not allowing her opponent to take the final KO. But okay, so what are the adjustments in Game 3? Like, Flossie made a very good adjustment to just stall out this Snorlax and try to get the KOs as quickly as possible. So
yeah, I think Gemma's okay to just kind of stick to her game plan. I think that it's working for her and keep as much as we're knocking it. I think that the Snarl plus the Yawn is like incredibly hard to handle.
Yeah.
And if Amy does anything drastically different here, then it's going to be hard for her to pick up a win.
Yeah, I think Game 3, Gemma's best adjustment after that game is to be a little bit more aggressive with the Snorlax and like pick the spots when to curse versus when to yawn. As we've seen that Flossie is more willing to just let her Pokemon go to sleep, especially that Gastrodon, letting it go to sleep while it gains boosts, was something that seemed to be like the idea on how to win that game too, and it very much helped. So
yeah, do you think that turn 1 Steamroller? Do you think that
I don't think we'll see that in Game 3.
Well, no. Do you think that was kind of what dropped Gemma's momentum enough to kind of put her in bad position?
No, because I think she recovered from that. I think it just made her turn 1 kind of useless, but she did recover from that and get the yawns off. To the point where like she was in the game, it just not getting a KO on the Togekiss early enough left it to where Togekiss plus Ferrothorn was an issue. So like one of those needed to be KO'd early, so they couldn't both be on the field at the same time with the last non-Dragapult.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So another interesting idea would be like bringing the Excadrill instead of the Dragapult. Although I'm not sure how much that does help. As long as you can take care of the Gastrodon, it should be fine. But I'm not 100% sure if that's what Gemma wants to do, or if she wants to keep with the Dragapult and see if she can win the way she won Game 1.
Yeah.
So
kind of surprising that it looks like Gemma is not going to bring the Excadrill for the 3rd straight game. Looks like Excadrill kind of handles Amy's team fairly well. But it looks like Gemma's kind of sticking to pretty much the same game plan as she has had the whole set so far.
Yeah, no, and I don't think it's a bad decision.
Not at all.
So we see Ferrothorn Gastrodon, a very different lead from Game 1 and 2. And then Snorlax and Incineroar, a lot of the same of Game 1 and 2. Well, who do you think this helps the most?
I think this is kind of an odd lead for Amy here. I don't really know. I mean, I feel like she's going to need to switch out that Ferrothorn. Otherwise, it's being pressured really hard by the Incineroar. Maybe Gemma could go for a read here and click Snarl, assuming that it's going to switch out. She doesn't have to go for the Flare Blitz turn 1 or even fake out anything. I would expect Gemma to just go for the Yawn and the Snarl here turn 1. The Yawn targeting into the Gastrodon slot, as that thing is probably not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that assessment. Like, just the threat of the Flare Blitz is enough where you don't even have to quick it on the first turn.
Right.
And then yawning into the Gastrodon seems very safe. What do we see? A switch into Indeedee. Interesting. And then let's see what the Gastrodon goes for here.
So here's a question: if Amy clicks safeguard, if she has it, after the yawn is already out, does she fall asleep?
She will still fall asleep.
Yeah.
So maybe I would assume the Indeedee does not have safeguard if that's the case, because we would have seen the safeguard game 2 presumably. So,
After seeing yawn 9 times, do you think she would
Yeah.
bring safeguard to game 2?
I think she would bring safeguard game 2, as we're about to see the yawn. I believe this is like the 30th yawn we've seen at this point. So,
Pretty
but
close to it. If not, we'll go ahead and count the yawns later.
I want to see a record broken. I need to see yawn clicks every single turn for the rest of this game.
I've
And
seen
to be
yawns so many
completely
times, I'm starting to get tired myself.
I mean, and the thing is, like, this is her best play. It's not like,
Oh, absolutely.
and I mean, that's just the way Snorlax plays, and it's not a fault of the player; it's a fault of the Pokemon and the Dynamax mechanic. Because without Dynamax, Yawn would not be as powerful as it is in this metagame. I do not think. Just because the effectiveness of getting a Yawn on the Dynamax Pokemon is so good, but we do see the Protect from Indeedee.
It's kind of interesting there. What do you think Amy was reading there with the protect?
I'm not sure, but
Maybe a yawn coming from the Snorlax?
probably. As we're gonna see, the Gastrodon just take a sleep again, as Snorlax avoids again. But Incineroar is gonna take a decent chunk, getting down into just outside of barrier range. So,
That's what, 2 HP higher than barrier range there?
yeah, I believe 3. I think it has to be at 50. Because its base HP is 201 instead of 204. Otherwise, 50, or it had to be 208, 52 to work, and 204 for 51 to work, I believe. But okay, so Gastrodon is asleep. The terrain is gone. The Indeedee is at -1 attack, and
it protected last turn.
yeah. So Snorlax is at full HP, not threatened by anything on the field. Could potentially get another Yawn or another Curse Off. As Incineroar, it is a little bit threatened, but I don't think it's threatened this turn. It would be threatened next turn.
Yeah. So we're gonna see the Indeedee come out.
Into the
Damn it.
Ferrothorn.
I wonder if it has Lumberry.
I don't know. I believe we have not seen an item yet so far. As we see Ferrothorn dodge. Do we see both dodge the Snarl there?
It looked like they did, yeah.
So, oh, and there's the Yawn into this Ferrothorn slot. One thing that Amy can do at this point is try to just get the Incineroar off the field, and once the Incineroar is just gone, then the Ferrothorn kind of has free reign.
Hey, Wolfenboat, thanks for the follow. Thanks for stopping by.
So, yeah, thanks. I hope you are enjoying our match 1 of 3 today, with 2 best of 3s after this. This is game 3, if you are just joining us. So we see the Snorlax, I believe, cursing, and then a Snarl coming out from the Incineroar.
Yeah, so I would bet this Ferrothorn does have the Lumberry. That would be my strong guess, which is why she
parting
would
shot from the Incineroar instead. Yeah. Oh, or the Ferrothorn switching out. So I don't know about if it's Lumberry.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Psychic Train is going back up. As we're going to see at first, I believe, the parting shot come out. Interesting decision deciding to switch the Incineroar out of the game this time. Whereas the previous 2 games, it kind of just sat on the field till it died. So, I wonder what difference that makes.
I think I like the decision to parting shot there, dropping the special attack on the Gastrodon. It kind of takes the pressure away from the Gastrodon, even though the Gastrodon seems to just want to get a bunch of muddy waters off so that Gemma's attacks can't really land.
Yeah. But the thing is, at this point, like, a crit Dazzling Gleam should KO the Gastrodon, and a non-crit plus Life Orb damage should KO the Gastrodon. So, like, a Dazzling Gleam seems very free at this point. But we shall see what goes on.
Do you think Gemma just clicks Dazzling Gleam?
Oh, Zaid Blade was raiding with a party of 7. Thank you for the raid.
Thanks for the raid, Zaid. Was it?
Yeah, Zaid Blade, I believe is how it's pronounced. But thank you for the raid. If you like, welcome. Hi. If you like, follow us. You can also join our Discord. I believe if you want to take part in these best of threes, we have signups every single, I believe Thursday or Friday is when they generally go out. As yeah, the Discord was just put in chat real quick. But if you guys would like to follow, we welcome you here. Thank you for following U-Game all day. So I hope you enjoy the content, and I hope you would like to join the Discord and stick with us for our generally Austin, Texas-based VGC events. But we also are kind of open to anybody in the area that just wants to also play Pokemon, especially in a time now where some communities aren't as friendly. We want to be open to everyone who just wants to be able to play. And we got another follow from Mince NXT. Thank you for the follow. Hey, it's all good if you're not good at VGC. You game all day. We all start somewhere.
I'm not very good either, and I play every Monday on stream here. So
again, thank you for follow BBSSIISSBB. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but thank you for the follow. But yeah, it doesn't matter. We all start at different levels playing Pokemon, but the thing we all have in common is we enjoy to play Pokemon, and we want to be a very ISB. Okay, I know that now. But the one thing we all have in common is we enjoy playing, and we want a place where people can play and feel comfortable playing. So,
ISB says in the chat, call me by my short name.
I'll try to remember that one. But yeah, thank you all of you guys for coming in the raid. And again, I would suggest if you want to join in on these battles, we try to have as many best of threes as people want to play. And the signups in the Discord, which we had just put in the chat a second ago. So that is our little plug on ATX VGC real quick in the middle of this match.
Thanks again, Zaid, for the raid. We
thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
That.
Well, let's see what's going on in the game now. We see Snorlax and Togekiss on the field versus Togekiss and Ferrothorn.
So as predicted, Chase, we did see that Gastrodon go down to the Dazzling Gleam from Gemma's Togekiss.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see Amy's Togekiss here go down to another Dazzling Gleam from Gemma's Togekiss.
Okay, so Togekiss is doing... Oh, and we see the Snorlax flinch. I missed what it was going for, but I would assume, based on the way Game 1 and 2 have played, it was probably either a curse.
I would assume that it was a yawn.
Mm-hmm. So... Well, how many... What is the game position right now? We see I believe neither player has Dynamax still at this point.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I would assume that Amy is probably going to Dynamax the Ferrothorn.
I would tend to agree based on what we have seen in Game 2.
Probably going for the Steel Spike into the Togekiss.
Mm-hmm.
And potentially a Steel Roller here into the... Well, it looks like the Togekiss or the Ferrothorn.
Yeah, we'll see a Steel Roller, and then we'll see a Protect from Gem's side. Oh, as backing out, never mind, maybe a new play. A Yawn and a Protect. That's pretty safe, considering the Ferrothorn is probably going to Dynamax at some point soon. But we see the Protect go off, and then the Expanding Force. And I hope this does a lot to the Snorlax, but I don't think we're going to see that much damage come out here, even boosted in Psychic Terrain. Oh, that's more than I thought.
That is more than I thought as well. So when here's a question for you, Chase. When Psychic Terrain is up, is Expanding Forces does the base power change at all, or does it just turn it into a spread attack?
Yeah, the base power is increased by 1.5 and it is turned into a spread attack.
Okay.
So by that math, the base power is actually increased by 10 on each Pokemon. Because so it goes from 80 to 120, and then the spread reduction makes it 90 base power on both Pokemon. So, and then yes, Zaid Blade and I see Rollercoaster answered their question in chat, but we have a couple of people with capture cards and we try to stream from their point of view, and try to include everybody in the Discord that wants to play. And as long as we have enough people with capture cards to match people up against, then we can stream as many games as possible. So, and then you game all day. We try to rotate being commentators just so we can get our own practice, and so everybody has a chance to play and not just commentate if that's what they want to do. So it is the main four of us: Gems VGC, myself, Tiki VGC.
Oh my goodness.
Nibs plays games, and then Roller Coaster are the main four that are generally on here. But as we expand the our
Discord.
local scene, and as we expand the Discord, we're trying to open it up for everybody. So yeah, I hope that answers all the questions that we have in chat so far.
Yeah, so for tonight specifically, we've been having three battles, or 3 matches I should say, per week. But so this time Chase is actually not going to battle at all. He's just going to commentate the entire thing. So this will be the one match that you'll see me commentate, and then you'll see me actually play in the 3rd game, and I will just be watching on game 2.
Yes, and then we should get the post-game interview, as Gems is going to be casting the second set of games with me. So I'll be able to ask her in between those games her mindset playing against Amy here in game 1. So the goal is just to bring as much content and get as many people into the game as possible. So
yeah, so we all met locally here in Austin. Well, technically we met in Dallas back in February, where there wasn't really much of a scene here in Austin, and we all kind of had the same goal of kind of growing a scene here. And then the pandemic actually turned into us taking things virtual, and that's kind of how we just kind of came about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, as we see, sorry we haven't been really discussing the matches, but we see Gemma win game 3 with a Sleeping Ferrothorn getting KO'd at the end there from the Snorlax and the Togekiss. So, well, that is the our first best of 3. Oh, thank you for following Zaid Blade. We're glad to have you here. Before we get started, I just want to ask, what was your mindset playing in that game, or that set beforehand, with Snorlax pretty much being the MVP there?
Yeah, for sure. My mindset really came down to the fact that, like, hold on one second. Hey, Austin, can you mute your mic?
I will too.
Yeah, and can you text Austin to mute his mic? Thank you.
Yeah, I can get that.
Cool. Yeah, my mindset was really the fact that I read about this team report. It's someone who got it to number 1 on the ladder using primarily like Series 4 Pokemon, but adding in Steel Roller as this like very niche pick. I really liked, like, I mean, Yon Snorlax, as we saw during the Players' Cup, was just like so prevalent amongst the top players, to the point where like I like it as an archetype a lot. So my main goal for that was to go ahead and continue the pressure with that, as well as, you know, based on Amy's team composition, I felt like I could go for Snarls pretty freely. If I got enough of them, then the Surfs and the Muddy Waters weren't doing enough.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a very good summary. The word we used on the Snorlax was oppressive, because the yawn pressure seemed to put Amy in a position where she couldn't really do that much. But if we do look at the game real